Hey guys, I want to talk to you about one more very important part in world history. This would be Unit 8, Lecture 4. There's no part you have to read in the book about this. I mean, there is a section in the book, but we're not actually covering that chapter. I just want to teach you about it. So, hopefully, it is drilled in your brains by now that the black circle was the great Roman Empire. Then it split. At that time, there was only one Christian church, and it was called the Christian Church. Well, after the split, things, do you remember when I talked to you about languages and how we have the Romance languages? We've got French, Spanish, Italian, Romanian, and some other ones that all come out of Latin. And what it was as people moved away further and further apart and their language started changing year after year after year, just a little bit. It just changed a tiny, tiny little bit. But after hundreds of years, it was so different. It couldn't even be considered the same language. Well, the same thing happened with religion. In the beginning, if you were in the Roman Empire and you called yourself a Christian, Christianity was the same everywhere. And they, at one point, had 4 major centers of the Christian church throughout the Roman Empire. And there were 4 popes. The Pope was called the Holy See. It's kind of strange, see, like this kind of sea, not like water kind of sea. But the Holy See was the Pope. And there were 4 of them. There was one Pope in Constantinople. There was one Pope in Antioch. There was one Pope in Jerusalem. There was one Pope in Alexandria. And there was one Pope in Rome. Well, do you see how Constantinople, Antioch, Jerusalem, and Alexandria are all over on the east? And only Rome is over on the west? And remember, Jesus died in the year 33. And the Western Roman Empire didn't truly collapse until the 400s, but we're really talking about the 300s now. Over the course of 300 years, the distance between Rome and Constantinople made it to where basic Christianity was changing a little bit. Just a tiny, tiny little bitty bit at a time. Changing a little, changing a little, changing a little, changing a little, until there was finally a break. Well, they would get kind of tense with each other because really it was the Roman side that was changing. The East was staying the same. The East was staying the same Christian church that it had always been. Christian, 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 the same ceremony, the same church service, the same everything that it had been forever. But Rome, the people that called themselves Christian over there, they were changing just a little at a time. Just changing a little bit more, changing a little bit more. And the after a long time, these changes started creating real tension between the church in the East and the church in the West. And at one point, they finally could not take it anymore. And they split. And they said, we are no longer one Christian church. We are two completely different churches. And that is called the Great Schism. The church on the East is called the Orthodox Christian Church. And the church on the West is called the Roman Catholic Church. So they've gone from just having one Christian church to now splitting. Orthodox means traditional. That's what this word means, is traditional. So this side claims that they are the original Christian church, and these people split off from them. Well, most of the time now, like now in our class, when I'm talking about Christians, I'm talking about the Roman Catholic Church, because we're talking about the Western part of the Roman Empire. It was Catholics that went out here and here and here. Saint Patrick was a Catholic that came over here to Ireland. And the Orthodox Christian Church continued to thrive in the East. Like today in Russia, most people are Orthodox Christians. Most of your Christians here in Almaty are Orthodox Christians, because they got their influence from the eastern part of the old Roman Empire. So once again, it's called the Great Schism. And for world history, this is really, really important, because whether you are religious or not, I'm not religious at all. That doesn't matter if you are religious or not. Religion formed a lot of our society. Who we are today is based on how people lived their lives in the past. And between the years about 0 and 1500, Christianity was a major part of life in Europe. And that's why this is important to know about the Great Schism. And that's when finally Rome's changing little by little by little by little by little by little. They finally just went too far. And the Orthodox traditional people said, you are no longer part of our church. That's it. No dates to remember. None of that really is so terribly important, exactly when it happened. What's important is that you understand what the Great Schism was and that it happened.